Welcome to a brief demonstration of re-architecting for the web with Gizmox transpositions technology. We will center on re-architecting enterprise-scale VB6 applications, and what we will be watching is a full modernization cycle. We will demonstrate going from VB6 to a web application. We'll show the target architecture. We'll discuss the patented methodology and technology that we are using, and we'll talk briefly about how you can get in contact with us to make use of this groundbreaking technology. Modernizing enterprise scale applications is complex, and modernizing those applications from a desktop configuration to the web is all the more complex. So what are the main challenges? Obviously, making the change from a desktop UI to a web-based UI, changing the operational model from synchronous to an asynchronous application, adding a native mobile experience that is oftentimes one of the main drivers of the whole exercise, keeping the logic that was written for a state-based framework to the web-based framework, which treats state quite differently, but keeping your investment in the logic to still be carried over to the incarnation, the web incarnation of the application. So faithfully reproducing that logic and functionality on the web. And a general point for the modernizing exercise is having an accurate assessment of the efforts, resources, and costs of the project upfront, very early in the project cycle. So here's an example of re-architecting a desktop application written in VB6, a two-tier application, to a web application with the same logic, where the different components are changed into their equivalents on the MVC-based web application. So the logic and UI are retained in a very well architected, standards-based, best practices-based web application with the quality as if written from scratch, but retaining the business logic and UI from the legacy application. So we've arrived at the demo. What we'll be showing is a VB6 business type application, monolithic, one tier, going all the way to ASP.NET MVC web application with mobile experiences added to the code base. So we'll show the VB6 application in VB6 IDE. We'll show the ASP.NET MVC application as created, opened in Visual Studio, compiling and running in Chrome. And then we'll also briefly look at the process, the way it is run in Gizmox Transposition Studio, the tool that is used for this transformation. So here we have the VB6 business type application in the VB6 IDE. We can compile and run. And we get the sales executive dashboard demo, where we have a bunch of reports we can bring up. And products, we can have update operations. Let's minimize these and bring up a couple of charts that are available. And there's the analysis chart, which we can interact with on screen, rotate. Let's bring up the monitor, which shows us on screen updating data of some sales number or any other number coming into the application. So this is the VB6 application. We'll be taking all the way to a web application, MVC-based web application. And here we see the result of the modernization done in Gizmox Transposition Studio. So here's the solution in Visual Studio. We see the complete solution is in code. There's no compiled objects, no behind-the-scenes DLLs that need to be run. This is a completely standard ASP.NET MVC application. Let's compile and run in Google Chrome. And we can see a very similar UI in the browser. Again, we have charts and reports. Let's start with the reports. Bring up the categories report and the product report. We have again update and insert operations available. Let's go look at the charts. And we have the analysis chart with which we can again interact on screen in the web application inside the browser, but again a very similar experience to that of the VB6 application. We need to note that there's obviously a lot of room for facelifting. We are showing here the standard basic transposition or transformation from VB6. Let's now go to the dynamic chart, and we get again a very similar experience to what we had in VB6 now in the web application. Okay, so now to mobile. We've added another window here on the right. Let's copy the URL over and click. And also through the Chrome developer tools, let's emulate a mobile device and refresh. So we have the same URL with a completely different experience. Adding the reports with a much more well-suited UI, mobile UI. We have the reports. Let's add products there, and now go to charts, adding the analysis chart. So we can see this whole experience here is tailored for a smartphone. We can add views for tablets. Any form factor really can be supported because we are making use of standard ASP.NET MVC framework features which allow this switching between form factors. Let's just finish with adding the dynamic chart so we can see again a well suited UI experience for mobile. Switching back to Visual Studio, let's stop the application. We can see we have a standard MVC, ASP.NET MVC web application structure with controllers for the different forms, with models, or actually view models again for each one of the original VB6 forms. This also points to the fact that the code is structured with naming conventions very similar to those coming from VB6, so the original developers will find their way quite easily in the new code. But it needs to be again noted and stressed that the code is architected according to .NET, ASP.NET MVC best practices. This is not a one-to-one translation from VB6, but a very well architected web application. So we have the view models, we have the views, and here we can see how we achieved this switching between the standard view and the view tailored for Android. Again, we're using a standard feature of ASP.NET MVC with a switch between the different views, display mode provider for each one of the different views, switching between, in this case, standard web and Android, but there's very many ways you can, different levels of granularity you can use for the different form factors. A deeper dive into the code is obviously going to interest some of the more technical viewers of this video, and we urge you to contact us for demonstration which will be tailored to your specific needs and interests. Now for a very quick tour of Gizmox Transposition Studio, which is the tool with which we perform migrations. So a basic tenet of the operation of Gizmox Transposition Studio is mapping. Each object in the legacy application is mapped to a web equivalent object. So, for example, buttons are mapped to a web element, equivalent web element, the same with the menus, and really every object is mapped mostly automatically to equivalent objects on the website. A very powerful feature of the tool is that there's a complete code understanding behind the scenes driving the operation of the tool and guidance the tool is giving to the human operator performing the migration. So for example, there's an error list here similar to that in Visual Studio telling us that there's a certain problem here. And if we click, we go to the file and the location in the code, and there's an element where the tool is telling us that this should be a record set. And we can see the recommendation of the tool to retype to a record set. How does it know that it's a record set? We can go to the all references list and see that it is treated as a record set. So the tool is smart enough to understand and to recommend this operation. So let's accept the recommendation. We see a preview of this operation taking place, and when we go apply, this is changed to a record set. So this is obviously the tip of the iceberg, really a very small subset of the features, but I hope enough to impress on you that this is a tool-based migration operation. Let's now discuss a few more aspects of the technology, starting with the fact that this is definitely not just for VB6 modernization projects. We can take various legacy desktop technology-based applications written in Power Builder, written in classic WinForms frameworks, and also classic ASP, and take all of those to modern.NET either on the desktop or on the web. So when we re-architect to the web, it's HTML5 based clients that are part of the application. We can also take applications directly to the cloud. All of our solutions include native mobile experiences, as we've shown in the demonstration. A very interesting and even more powerful use of the technology is standardizing on service-based architecture. This can be in a more classic sense of the word, or even to container-based architecture. So make deeper, more customizable changes to the architecture of the application. We can go from Java to .NET, and we can also go from .NET to Java. And we even have clients which are discussing moving between cloud platforms. So how is this possible? How can we re-architect between so many platforms, both on the source and on the target side, with the same tool, with the same technology? The innovation, which is patent protected, the patent has been approved recently, is that we combine compiler technology with translation technology. The compiler technology side of the patent is where we build a full representation of the application in memory in the tool, what is called an abstract semantic tree, and that allows the tool to have continuous compilation of the code while it is being transformed and have complete code understanding of what the application actually does. So because the tool knows what the application does, it can re-architect mostly automatically to new platforms with a very high quality of the target application. So what's next? If, as we hope, you find this interesting, intriguing enough of possible use for your modernization needs, what we suggest is that you go to our website and get hold of our Digital Application Analyzer, which is a free tool which will set you on the path for modernizing with us. The tool is a self-service application based on the same patented technology as the actual migration tool is. It goes very deeply into your application and gives both you and us a lot of insights into what it will take to apply our technology to your application, and give you a very accurate assessment up front of cost, duration, and other resources that will be required. So there'll be a link at the end of this video for you to go to our website and get the tool. To summarize, digital application re-architecting and rewriting transforms desktop applications, including enterprise scale large applications, to well-architected web applications, web or cloud. It allows you to keep your investment in business logic and to recreate your users' familiar UI on the web. Also allowing the addition of mobile experiences for different form factors using the same code base, which has huge implications for maintenance and continuing redevelopment. Once you get our quote based on on running the assessment tool, which we've just discussed, you'll see that hands down, this is the best ROI. And once you've talked to our references, you'll see that this is the lowest risk process to modernize your legacy applications to up to the moment frameworks. Before we end this video, we'd like to suggest you stay tuned to this space and catch our upcoming video, where we'll be demonstrating migrating enterprise scale Power Builder applications to the web with a similar technological outcome. So we'll be sending out invites for this upcoming video. As we've discussed, we support migrating various legacy platforms to various target application platforms, and we urge you to get in contact with us and discuss your specific needs. Thank you very much for your time. We hope we will be able to bring the value of Gizmoc's transposition technology to your organizations and to be of assistance in any way. Thank you again.